So Todd and I got married when we were 23. Things were good for a very short period of time. I think the honeymoon period was short.
In the early phase of our marriage, the biggest storm, me working incessantly and really placing all of my worth and identity in work.
And we had a lot of trouble communicating, and we had a lot of difficulty being nice to one another.
And only one of us had a relationship with God. It just spun.
There just wasn't a community around us. We didn't have anybody saying, we'll pray for you, we're there for you, let's talk about it. And I was really lonely, and I went looking for something that I wasn't getting at home.
That led to infidelity. Holly had an affair with one of our neighbors.
I never wanted to hurt Todd. I was not angry at him. I just was very unhappy in our marriage, and that was just the course of action I took. It was easiest for me.
It wasn't strong enough to say, yeah, we got to make some changes and we got to do something about this. I just was like, well, let's see what happens next.
For me, there was a lot of shame and there was a lot of guilt. I was ripping two families apart, and I knew it.
It was confusion, hurt, and the hurt was where all the other women came in. All of a sudden, it was open season.
Todd wanted me out, but very soon after that, he wanted to date me, and he wanted to see a counselor together. Then something else would surface, and then he would date someone, or I would date someone, and so it went on like that for a couple years. By that time, we'd been apart 2 years. I just decided that everything that was important to me in a man, Todd had, but he didn't want anything to do with me at that point, and rightfully so. We filed for a divorce, ended that first marriage.
I wanted what was dead and buried to be dead and buried, and not to come back. There was nothing there. I've learned relationships, and not just through this, but I've learned that relationships have a life and they can die, and they can be reborn.
And that was the beginning of something new for us. I have never loved anybody like I love Todd. And when we were going through all of that, that was still really strong.
Holly and I reconnected. We knew that we were still in love. And that love it was this thing that we were tethered by, and we didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. I'm like, why? A couple of my friends at the time were like, you're crazy. What are you thinking? Why are you doing this? And all I could say is I still love her.
And dated about a year or year and a half, and then remarried in 2003. So we've been remarried for 12 years.
The conflict in a marriage never stops. But that's just it. The conflict never stops, but we have tools and we're equipped now to deal with it.
He became a significant spiritual leader in our family.
That just means when I see things in the house like anger and bitterness and fear, I know to shut them down. As the protector of my house, that's my job. And I've learned that. The really hard way, I've learned that. I've learned to just, recognize these things and shut them down.
You have to look at it and say, that's really a miracle they're back together. And that's God's work. I can't take any responsibility for that. The fact that Todd forgave me for what I did, and that, we were able to just get rid of bitterness and anger and all that hurt, that's God's work.